You're nothing but a failure. Stop embarrassing this family. You're wasting your time, Emma. Girls like you don't make it in the real world. Those words still give me chills. I'm standing in my childhood driveway right now, keys to my brand, new BMW in my hand, and I can still hear my dad saying that to me 3 years ago. Hi, I'm Emma Rodriguez. I'm 23, and I just sold my app company for $12 million. Yeah, you heard that right. $12 million. But this story isn't really about the money. It's about my dad, who spent years telling me I'd never amount to anything, and how I proved him so wrong it actually saved his life. Literally. Let me start from the beginning. Growing up in Phoenix, my dad Miguel ran an auto repair shop. Been doing it for like 25 years. His hands were always covered in grease. And honestly, he was proud of that. In his world, real work meant getting dirty, fixing things with your hands, earning every dollar through sweat. When I told him I wanted to study computer science instead of learning the family business, he laughed. Actually laughed on my face. Computers? He said. That's not real work, mija. That's just playing games all day. For 3 years, I'd been working on this app idea. It was called Fix Fast. Basically Uber for car repairs. People could request a mechanic to come to them, get quotes, track the work, everything. I thought Dad would love it since it was about cars. But every time I tried to explain it, he'd just shake his head. People need to bring their cars to the shop, he'd say. That's how business works. You can't fix a transmission through a phone. He didn't get it, at all. While my friends were out partying and posting TikToks, I was in my tiny apartment coding until 3 a.m. Dad would call and ask when I was going to get serious and learn a real trade. Every phone call ended the same way. Him disappointed, me frustrated. The worst part? I overheard him talking to my Uncle Carlos at a family barbecue last year. Emma's going to come crawling back when this computer thing doesn't work out, he said, flipping burgers. She's too soft for the real world. Always has been. I was standing right behind the sliding door. He knew I could hear him. That night, I worked until sunrise. Pure spite energy, you know. My mom, Isabella, was different, though. She worked as a nurse and always supported my dreams. When I got into Arizona State for computer science, she secretly gave me $800 from her savings. Go show them what you can do, baby, she whispered. Don't let anyone make you small. She never said this stuff in front of Dad. In my sophomore year, my professor Dr. Kim saw my app prototype. This could change how people think about car repairs, she told me. You should enter the university startup competition. I won first place and $5,000 in funding. When I called home excited, Mom cried happy tears. Dad said, "That's nice, mija. When do you graduate so you can get a real job?" I dropped out the next semester to work on my app full-time. The phone call home was brutal. Mom begged me to reconsider. Dad hung up on me after saying, "Don't come crying to me when this falls apart." For 2 years, I lived off ramen noodles and my friend Maya's couch. She was the only one who believed in me. "You're going to be rich someday," she'd say, bringing me coffee at midnight while I coded. "Just don't forget us little people." Meanwhile, investor after investor rejected me. "You're too young. You don't understand the auto industry. This market is too niche." I printed every rejection email and stuck them on my wall. Not for motivation, for fuel. Dad's comments got meaner. At Christmas dinner, he introduced me to his friends as my daughter who's still figuring things out. On my birthday, he handed me job applications for receptionist positions. Since the computer thing isn't working, he never once asked to see what I was building, never showed any interest. It was like my dreams didn't matter to him at all. Then, last month, everything changed. I was in my apartment, well, Maya's apartment, making instant mac and cheese when my phone buzzed. Email from Tech Venture Capital, one of the biggest investment firms in Silicon Valley. "We'd like to acquire FixFast for $12 million. Please call to discuss terms." I read it like 50 times. Then I screamed so loud Maya came running from her room thinking someone was dying. $12 million, I kept yelling. 12 million. Maya started crying. Then we both started crying. Then we ordered way too much Chinese food and stayed up all night making plans. I called Mom first. She sobbed. Actually sobbed on the phone. I didn't call Dad. A week later, I was in San Francisco signing papers in a conference room that probably cost more than my apartment rent. The tech venture CEO, this badass woman named Sarah Chen, raised her champagne glass and said, "To the future of mobile automotive services." Everyone cheered. I smiled and played along, but in my head I kept hearing Dad's voice. "Girls like you don't make it in the real world." That night in my fancy hotel room, my cousin Diego texted me, "Yo, just saw you on TechCrunch. You're famous." I Googled myself. There it was, my face on every tech news site. 23-year-old college dropout sells app for $12 million. They mentioned my age like 1,000,000 times, like being young was the craziest part of the story. I closed my laptop and looked out at the San Francisco skyline. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't hurt. I was just clear. Like when fog lifts and you can finally see everything, I knew exactly what I had to do. The next morning, I walked into a BMW dealership wearing my regular jeans and hoodie. The salesman totally ignored me until I started talking about paying cash. 3 hours later, I drove out in a white BMW X3. Not because I needed a fancy car, but because I needed to make a statement. I didn't tell anyone I was coming home. I knew Dad always had his monthly barbecue for his shop employees and their families. Perfect timing. I pulled into our driveway at exactly 2 p.m., right when everyone would be in the backyard. The BMW was so quiet compared to Dad's loud truck, but somehow it felt like it announced everything. I walked into the backyard with just my car keys and my confidence. The whole party went silent, like someone pressed pause on a movie. Mom's hand went to her chest. Dad stood at the grill with his spatula frozen in the air. "Sorry I'm late," I said, walking toward him. Traffic from the airport was crazy. He recovered quickly, putting on his customer service smile. "Look who decided to show up. Whose car did you borrow to make that entrance?" Everyone laughed. I didn't. "It's mine," I said simply. "Bought it yesterday." "Sure," he nodded, winking at his mechanic Tony. "And I'm buying a yacht next week." More laughs. I pulled out my phone and showed him the title and registration. His face changed completely. He looked at the documents, then at me, then back at the papers. "Must be nice having rich friends who let you use their cars," he said, handing my phone back. "Come on, get some food. Your mom made tamales." For the next few hours, I tried to talk to him about my company. Every time I brought up the app, he changed the subject to car repairs. When I tried to explain the technology, he suddenly needed to get more beer. When one of his customers asked about the TechCrunch article, Dad interrupted. "Don't believe everything you read online, man. These tech reporters make everything sound bigger than it is." After everyone left, I found him in the garage working on an engine like he always did after parties. "Dad, we need to talk about my company." He didn't look up from the engine. "Nothing to talk about. You got lucky with some app. Doesn't make you special." $12 million isn't luck, I said. He finally looked at me. "You know what built this family? 25 years of fixing cars with these hands." He held up his grease-stained fingers. "Not sitting around playing on computers, not making fancy apps that nobody needs." He pointed to a photo on his workbench, him at 30 standing next to his first tow truck. "That's real work. That's real success. What I built is real too. Is it?" He stepped closer. "Let me tell you something, Emma. I've seen kids like you before. You make some money and think you're hot shit. But when the tech bubble pops, where are you gonna be? You'll come running back here begging me to teach you a real skill. I didn't say anything. Mark my words, he continued. You'll blow through that money in a year, and those Silicon Valley people will move on to the next shiny thing. Then what? You're gonna fix cars with an app? I walked out without another word. In the kitchen, Mom was washing dishes. She turned around and dried her hands. He's proud of you, she said quietly. He just doesn't know how to show it. I shook my head. No, Mom, he's not proud. He's scared. The next morning, Diego called me. Uncle Miguel is telling everyone your deal fell through. Says you made it all up and rented that BMW to show off. Something cold settled in my chest. Not anger, determination. Spent the next week in Phoenix, but I stayed at a hotel instead of my parents' house. I met with lawyers and accountants, setting up my new life. But I kept hearing things. Whispers about Dad, about me, about my company. Maya texted, "Your dad came by looking for you. Asked weird questions about your money. Said something about getting to the truth." My aunt called. "Your father told everyone at church you're in trouble with those California people. Are you okay?" Even Sarah from Tech Venture reached out. Someone claiming to be your father called asking for details about our deal. We didn't give any information, but thought you should know. I drove to my parents' house when I knew Dad would be at work. Mom let me in, looking nervous. "Mom, what's going on with Dad?" She sat down at the kitchen table. "He's worried about you? Worried enough to lie about me? Worried enough to call my business partners?" She looked down. "Your success scares him, Emma. It challenges everything he believes about how the world works." "That's not my problem." "No," she agreed. "But he's making it your problem." She paused. "There's something else. The shop is in trouble. Has been for 2 years. The big chain shops are taking all our customers. People want convenience now. They don't want to wait 3 days for repairs anymore." My heart sank. Why didn't he tell me? "Pride," she said. "The same reason he can't celebrate your success. If he admits your way works, it means his way is failing." That evening, I called Uncle Carlos. We met at a coffee shop downtown. He took out a loan against the house, Carlos told me. Last year, put everything into new equipment, trying to compete with Jiffy Lube and those fast change places. It's not working. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because yesterday, he asked me if you might want to invest your app money in the shop. He's planning to ask you for help." I sat back in my chair. He doesn't believe my success is real. But he wants my money? He believes it's real. He just can't admit it. Carlos sighed. "Your father is stubborn, Emma. He built something from nothing. But the world changed, and he didn't change with it." Driving home, I passed Dad's shop. The lights were on even though it was 9 p.m. I could see him through the window, bent over paperwork, looking older than I'd ever seen him. Right then, I realized something. His attacks on me weren't just about hating my success. They were about using me to explain his failure. If my way was wrong, then his way wasn't failing. It was just underappreciated. The next morning, Dad texted, "Can we talk? Dinner tonight, 7 p.m. I texted back, "Yes," but I didn't show up for dinner. Instead, I spent the day making phone calls. I called Sarah at Tech Venture and asked about automotive service companies in Phoenix. I called a business broker about acquisition, opportunities. I called commercial real estate agents about tech office spaces. By the end of the day, I had a plan. The next morning, I met with Quick Fix Auto, the biggest mobile repair service in Arizona. The owner, a woman named Maria Santos, was expanding statewide. "We've been watching Rodriguez Auto Repair for months," she told me. "Great reputation, loyal customers, but they're stuck in the past. If they had our mobile platform, they could triple their business." "What if I could make that happen?" I asked. By evening, I had an offer. Quick Fix would partner with Dad's shop, providing the mobile platform and customer base. Dad would keep ownership but modernize the business. His mechanics would work both in-shop and mobile. Everyone keeps their jobs, but with better pay and benefits. I also signed a lease on a huge space in downtown Phoenix for my new company headquarters. I was bringing tech jobs back home. 5 days after missing dinner, I walked into Dad's shop, unannounced, carrying a folder. He looked up from under a car hood, anger flashing in his eyes. "So you decided to show up after standing me up?" I put the folder on his workbench. "This is more important than dinner." "What is this? Your big investment offer?" "It's a partnership proposal from Quick Fix Auto. They want to work with Rodriguez. Auto repair." His face went pale. "You went behind my back." "I went ahead of you," I said. "The business is struggling, Dad. This saves it. Your shop stays yours, but now you can compete with the big chains. Your guys keep their jobs and get better benefits." "So that's your plan? Come in with your tech money and take over everything I built?" I shook my head. "What you built is valuable, Dad. This makes it valuable again." He stood up, hands shaking. "Get out. There's one more thing." I pulled the BMW keys from my pocket and set them on the workbench. "These are yours now." He stared at the keys. "I don't want your charity." "It's not charity. It's a company car." I headed toward the door. "The offer expires tomorrow. After that, Quick Fix finds other partners. Think about your employees, Dad. Think about Mom." The next morning, Mom texted. He drove the BMW to work. Didn't say anything, but he drove it. That afternoon, Dad called Maria at Quick Fix. 2 months later, I stood in my new office building, looking out at downtown Phoenix. Around me were 150 people. My new employees, local business leaders, reporters, and family. Dad stood in the back, still uncomfortable in places like this. "Today we're launching FixFast 2.0, I announced. "Our mission is to make car repairs convenient for everyone. And we're proud to be doing it right here in Phoenix." Everyone clapped. I continued. "We're also announcing our first major partnership. FixFast is investing $2 million in Quick Fix regional partners, which now includes Rodriguez Auto Repair," the crowd murmured. Dad's head snapped up. "As part of this partnership, we're launching a program to help traditional auto shops modernize. I'm excited to announce that Miguel Rodriguez will be heading this program as Director of Traditional Services." The room exploded in applause. I looked right at Dad. His face was unreadable. Miguel has built something valuable over 25 years. Knowledge you can't learn from an app. Skills you can't download. By combining his expertise with our technology, we're not replacing the old way with the new way. We're building something better than either could do alone. After my speech, Dad finally walked over to me. "You planned all this," he said. "I planned to build something that mattered," I replied. "Everything else just worked out." He looked around at all the activity. All the young people with their laptops and energy. "Your name's on the building now." "So was yours," I said. Everyone knew who built Rodriguez Auto Repair. For the first time in years, I saw respect in his eyes. Not approval. We were past that. But respect. One business owner to another. He held out his hand. I shook it. "Keep the BMW," I told him. "Consider it a signing bonus." He almost smiled. "I already traded it for a hybrid truck. Put the cash difference into your company stock." 6 months later, I'm sitting in my office overlooking the Phoenix skyline. On my desk is a framed article. "Local tech company partners with traditional auto shops, creates 200 jobs." Dad and I aren't best friends. Maybe we never will be. But we have lunch once a week now to talk about the traditional services program. He's brought in other shop owners, mechanics, body shops, tire places, people who were getting left behind by technology. They don't need handouts, he told me last week. They need tools that make sense for their work. And you know what? He's right. The partnership with Quick Fix exceeded everyone's expectations. Dad's expertise plus our app platform expanded the business across 3 states. His mechanics went from struggling to pay bills to having profit sharing and health insurance. Mom finally quit her night shifts and went back to school for her nurse practitioner degree, something she'd always wanted to do. Your father actually downloaded our app, she told me last week, laughing. He's been showing it to all his customers, says it's pretty smart for computer stuff. Maya joined my company as head of marketing. We've hired 60 people from local colleges, keeping talent in Phoenix instead of losing it to California. As for me, I'm not trying to prove anything anymore. That $12 million that seemed like everything is now just the start of something bigger. Beautiful souls, Emma's story shows us that the best revenge isn't about tearing someone down. It's about lifting them up while you rise. She didn't just prove her father wrong. She proved that love and success can coexist. Sometimes our pain becomes our purpose, and the people who doubt us end up being the ones we save. Until next time, keep believing in your dreams.